Welcome to this explainer. If you're involved in reviewing or designing academic programs in Uganda, well, you already know that massive changes have arrived. We're looking at the brand new competence-based blueprint from the National Council for Higher Education, and today, we're going to demystify exactly what it takes to build a program that actually meets these rigorous new standards. Okay, let's just dive right into it.
So to really understand where we're going, we've got to look at the mandate that kicked this whole thing off. Back in March 2026, the NCHE issued new minimum standards. Basically, they're requiring all higher education institutions to transform their academic programs using a very specific template. And listen, this isn't just a polite suggestion. It's a mandatory shift designed to guarantee quality and excellence across the board. You're essentially being handed a brand new architectural standard for how education absolutely must be built in Uganda.
We are fundamentally shifting away from the old traditional curriculum model, the one that was heavily focused on just clocking contact hours, covering a bunch of topics, and testing rote recall. Instead, we're moving toward the CBET model. That's competence-based education and training. Here, the focus is squarely on competencies and performance demonstration. It's really no longer about what a student memorizes for a test. It's about what a graduate can actually do, perform, and demonstrate in a real-world industry setting.
Think of this explainer as your master blueprint index. We'll be walking through 4 key areas today. 1. The shift to CBET. 2. Laying the program foundation. 3. Defining clear learning outcomes. And finally 4. Staffing and infrastructure needs. All right, part 1. The shift to CBET. Upgrading the educational system. Before we get into the nitty-gritty how, we've really got to understand the why. As a curriculum developer, you aren't just doing paperwork here. The expected outcomes of this template are actually pretty profound. The whole goal is to build systems that solve real industry shortages and perfectly align with the Uganda Higher Education Qualification Framework, or UHEQF. In short, the NCHE wants to see much stronger alignment with the labor market, improved learner-centered pedagogy, and ultimately a solid national pool of capable resource persons. You're literally bridging the gap between what society expects and what institutions are delivering. Moving right along to part 2, laying the program foundation, creating the master plan. Okay, so you're building the master plan. Your blueprint requires a crystal clear illustration of your governance framework. You absolutely cannot just submit a list of classes and call it a day. You have to document exactly how the University Council, the Senate or Academic Board, the faculty, the department, and quality assurance bodies all interact with each other. You even need to map out the student leadership's role. The NCHE wants to see the whole host faculty organogram mapped out completely so they know exactly who is steering the ship and ensuring quality control. And hey, you definitely can't build a program in a vacuum, right? To prove there is actual real-world demand for your program, you've got to document your development and review process through a few exact steps. First, a thorough needs assessment. We're talking labor market surveys and tracer studies. Second, benchmarking against national and global programs. Third, and this one is huge, stakeholder involvement. Have you actually talked to industry experts, professional bodies, and employers? Finally, you have to show the clear path of institutional approval. Which brings us directly to the rationale, the big so what. You must boldly justify your program's very existence. You've got to answer, what specific problem does this solve? Why right now? Your submission has to identify national or regional skills gaps, highlight current employment trends, and align with government policy. Plus, it needs to fit seamlessly into your own institution's strategic vision and mission. Look, if you can't clearly answer, why now? Your blueprint is just going to fail inspection. Let's hit part 3, defining clear learning outcomes, designing the learner's journey. This is where the rubber really meets the road, program learning outcomes. The NCHE strictly defines these as specific, measurable demonstrations of knowledge, skills, and values. Notice that word there, measurable. These outcomes have to be tied directly to the appropriate UHEQF qualification level. It's really not enough anymore to say a student will understand a topic. Understanding happens inside the mind. It's incredibly hard to measure. The new template requires you to describe exactly what the learner will physically or intellectually demonstrate when they walk out of your doors. So notice how the required language totally shifts to strong, undeniable action verbs. You've got to design your blueprint so that graduates can actually apply, analyze, design, and evaluate. For example, instead of a vague goal like knowing about ethics,
The outcome absolutely must be to demonstrate ethical conduct and professional responsibility. They need to communicate effectively and work collaboratively in a real-world multidisciplinary team. Action, that is the ultimate metric of the CBET curriculum. And finally, Part 4, Staffing and Infrastructure Needs, Assembling the Resources. Look, the best blueprint in the world is totally useless without the materials and builders to actually execute it. Your template submission requires a crazy, detailed, tabular breakdown of all personnel. We are talking administrative staff, academic staff, and support staff like technicians. The NCHE requires you to list their full names, exact qualifications, the awarding institutions, their specific areas of specialization, whether they're full-time or part-time, their gender, and even their registration with professional bodies. Yes, it really requires absolute, total transparency. Now, pay close attention to this, because the NCHE has drawn a very hard line in the sand here. It is absolutely critical to note that academic staff must possess a minimum of a master's degree to teach undergraduate programs. There is zero wiggle room here. And alongside that master's degree, they've got to have demonstrable teaching and research experience. This is all to ensure that the individuals facilitating this new competence-based learning are highly qualified experts in their respective fields. Lastly, you have to prove you actually have the physical space to teach these competencies, and you need to do it with granular detail. You must document every single lecture room, administrative office, and lab. You need to specify the exact square meterage, whether the space is shared or dedicated solely to this program, and list out the specific technological equipment available, like projectors, smartboards, and PA systems. You are essentially proving that the environment itself can actually support competence-based training. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. Are you just filling out a compliance template to get through the NCHE's requirements? Or are you truly ready to become the architect of a competence-based revolution in your institution? This blueprint is your chance to build programs that actively solve real-world problems and launch highly capable graduates straight into the workforce. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Good luck building the future.